Watch Marge react to how people actually feel about her. And she wonders why Republicans aren't popular anymore.
We should be doing right now, today, we should be voting to impeach Joe Biden because of the invasion in the United States. Oh, but no, none of that is happening up here in Washington, D.C., because Republicans continually have their head up their ass and can't figure out how to actually use the power that the people gave us. This is a new time in America, and I am so fed up, Steve. I am so fed up. I am so sick of it because I know people at home are sick of it. People are sick and tired of a feckless, useless Republican Party that never does a damn thing to stop any of this. They just sit in the boat and row along with the Democrats and row.
It couldn't possibly be because you propose things like this, right?
Strikes funding for the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, Security Investment Program. My amendment would strike over $433 million in NATO funding from the bill. America should not be doling out hundreds of millions of dollars to international organizations to help them fight their enemies, especially when they are unwilling to fight for themselves.
No wonder people are calling Marge Moscow Marjorie.
Moscow Marjorie has clearly gone off the deep end, maybe the result of a space laser. But this type of tantrum is absolutely unacceptable, and it does nothing to further the cause of the conservative movement. The only people who have stymied our ability to govern are the very people that have pulled these types of stunts throughout the course of this Congress to undermine the House Republican majority.
So there you go. Once again, Marge being loud and annoying. That's one of our members of Congress right there. That's the world we're living in. Out of 330 million Americans, she was one of the 435 that we were able to pick. That's one of our best. So I don't know what's going on in her district, but they should reconsider because number one, she is not very effective. The only thing she's effective in is slowing down anything being done. This has become one of the least productive Congresses in history, led by the Republicans. It's a Republican-led Congress, and people like Marge are now throwing throwing wrenches and bombs at their own. You saw her going off on the Republican Party because she was upset that the Republican Party was helping pass the bill that was sending money to Ukraine to fight Russia. And that's why the name Moscow Marjorie comes about, because she's basically bidding for Russia in that case. I personally am not a fan of war. I wish war were not happening. But when you look at the situation with Russia and Ukraine, you got to look at it strategically. And if the United States does not help Ukraine, Russia is emboldened and perhaps starts making moves further and further into the West. And so America has had to support the Ukrainians in their fight against Russia. But people like Marge are saying, let's not send money to Ukraine or to NATO anymore. By the way, NATO is supposed to help American interests in Europe. Matter of fact, the only time that any NATO member has come to the assistance of another country was when America went to war with Iraq. And that's when the NATO countries fell in order and helped America in that war. Once again, I'm not a proponent of war. And that war, we found out later on, was under many false pretenses. But America and people like Donald Trump keep claiming that we are holding up NATO and that we're supporting NATO and that NATO counts on us, et cetera, et cetera. Meanwhile, they were the only time in history that we've actually had any kind of interaction with NATO has been when NATO came to support us in our war. Just something to know. So people like Marjorie are out there. They're yelling their heads off. Looking at that first clip you saw, what a just decorated and well-versed and eloquent leader that when she gets yelled at about leaving and people were yelling at her at that rally to get the hell out, she takes the megaphone and yells back. She's really just not the smartest. She's really just not what you would imagine back in the day when I was a kid, what a member of Congress would be or should be. Remember back in the day, even when they argued, they would be like, the gentlelady from Georgia who would like to, I would like to take a different opinion than the gentlelady from Georgia. The gentlelady, the gentleman, that's all gone out the door. Did you see her last week talking to Dr. Fauci? She goes, I don't want to call you a doctor because in my mind, you're not a doctor. That's just mind-blowing. I mean, I don't care what you think about Dr. Fauci, who, by the way, spent his whole life getting ready for this pandemic that we had. And he was like, let me help you guys. And then the Republicans are like, well, we need to blame somebody. So let's blame Dr. Fauci. If you haven't seen some of the clips from that, you should check that out as well, because they tried to pin him to some things. They were like, oh, how much money did you make from the vaccines and all that stuff? He's like, I think I made a few $100. And if you look at Marjorie, she was in there saying, I'm not going to call you a doctor. Meanwhile, she's the dumbest person possibly in Congress. I mean, we do have Lauren Boebert there as well, and Jim Jordan and Gosar. There's a lot of them. The MAGAs are pretty dumb, but Marge really is up there. But back to this whole thing of Moscow Marjorie, she is doing Putin's bidding here. She is basically the mouthpiece for what Russia would like. Russia would like America to not support Ukraine anymore so they can just roll over Ukraine and then keep going, and who knows, leading to where. So when you have members of Congress screaming that loudly, like she was on that show, I believe it was Steve Bannon's show, where she was screaming, saying the Republican Party needs to grow a pair and go against the Democrats. Well, Marge, you guys have really done a good job of making your Congress, this Congress, ineffective. And if anything has passed that's been effective, a lot of it has been pushed by the Democrats. The fact that we have this infrastructure bill that's going to be bringing jobs back to America, be building bridges, be fixing roads, that was at the hands of the Biden administration and the Democrats. Or the fact that they're negotiating with the insurance companies to bring costs of medicines down. Once again, that's another Biden accomplishment. A lot of the things that were done that we could point at were done at the hands of the Democrats. So maybe, Marge, you might want to cling on to what the Democrats are doing and passing, and maybe actually do some stuff rather than just doing all of this nonsensical screaming that even your own Republicans will go to a press conference and call you Moscow Marjorie. That was another Republican calling her that, because a lot of people in Congress are leaving Congress because they're saying this is a very ineffective Congress. They're not getting anything done. What they do, all they do is virtue signaling. All they do is try to go after culture wars. They're trying to go after the woke people. They're trying to go after LGBTQ people. They're trying to go after, they went after, and they were actually finally able to overturn a woman's right to choose. So if you're a woman, you should reconsider voting for these bozos because they're coming after you. If you're a member of the LGBTQ community, you should reconsider voting for these bozos because they're coming after you. Just letting you know that who you have out there is Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she's got one thing on her mind, and it's all far right, crazy religious crap. Anyway, there she is, just embarrassing herself left and right, getting booed at. And I beg you, if you happen to be in Marge's district, really consider voting for someone else. Even if you're going to vote for a Republican, vote for someone else. She's just bad. She should be, you know what she should be doing? Is posting Instagram videos of her doing deadlifts. Have you seen those deadlift videos? That's what she should be doing. So let's send her back to where she needs to be, and let's not vote for her again. All right? I'm comedian Maz Jobrani. I have a special on YouTube. It's called The Birds and the Bees. I want you to check it out. If you like it, tell your friends. If you don't like it, keep it to yourselves. But don't vote for Marge, please.